Hi everybody and welcome to the Flute Practice. Today we're going to look at some of the common mistakes that people make when they're breathing. So let's go check it out. One of the most common things I think I see all the time with especially my young students, but I think with most students, is the classic lifting of the shoulders. So you tell them to take a big breath in and they go as if somehow magically lifting your shoulders is going to, increase your air. In fact, I find this kind of lifting thing goes hand in hand with just generally feeling like we have to create tension, or like breathing in is a tense thing. I always kind of joke with my students. I say to them, try not to breathe in for a long time and see what your body does. In fact, breathing is the most natural thing that our bodies know how to do and do every single day, almost every single second, unless you're holding your breath for several seconds, in which case it's not. So it's an incredibly relaxing and natural action, and we don't actually have to do anything. I think I've mentioned this in a previous video. We don't actually, physically breathe. We allow our bodies to just breathe in. Of course, and I've spoken about this many times, many believe, or many think when they're learning how to breathe, or when, they've been breathing for years even, that when you breathe in, your stomach goes in. So it goes in hand with this, lifting up the shoulders and the chest, and then you kind of suck your stomach in and breathe in like this. The truth of the matter is it's the exact opposite of that. What happens? The stomach goes out when we breathe in, and the shoulders do lift slightly, but everything kind of just expands right around your back. So I'm back here against the wall for you to show you this exact movement. So many people think when you breathe in like that, when in fact you should be breathing in nicely like that. Yeah, get my nice fat belly going. This is not a feeling of like filling up actively. It's mostly a feeling of completely releasing. To help you kind of feel this feeling, I'm just going to give you a quick little exercise. What I'm going to suggest you do is you tense your stomach muscles a lot. Breathe out all your air, and then tense your stomach muscles, like really pull them in as if you're trying to like show off your best six-pack in the whole wide world. And now what you do is, as you breathe out all your air, do not think about breathing in. Think about just releasing your stomach muscles out. So just let them go. And you'll see almost reflexively your body will breathe in. And this is the feeling. It's a feeling of release and letting go. So it's a nice little exercise to kind of play around with. Another common mistake that people seem to make, this is something that kind of swings both ways. The one is to think more kind of like really kind of closed here and thinking like that kind of a breath, like up all the way just up into here. When really the feeling we need is to completely open up here and free up here and just... And I've spoken a bit about this whole feeling, and I never thought about this until recently. I was at a masterclass, and the teacher giving masterclasses made me aware of the other extreme that can go to, and that is if we actually try to go too kind of intensively, we can actually create tension again, and we actually block it all over again. So I think the thing you really want to aim for is just a noiseless breath. So you just really want to let your whole body relax and open up and just so quiet, so very quiet. But that's the point. If you can't hear it, you're doing good. With breathing out, I think one of the more common things that I see is this kind of like forced breathing out. So like you kind of contract all your stomach muscles, you make everything very tense, when actually support is not really about like squeezing your muscles or anything. Support is really just about leaving that diaphragm down and leaving that stomach out. Yes, those muscles do help. They help to support and they help to kind of hold it, but they're not squeezing. This kind of squeezing creates a lot of tension and usually creates quite a kind of forced and often not very smooth sound. So it's like a so you really want to make sure that your in-breath is free and that your out-breath is supported but still free. Another common breathing out mistake. People tend to lean back as they're breathing out. So you're playing, and then you're like back, or whatever, and you're leaning back. Once again, this actually inhibits your breath rather than helps you at all. It kind of cuts off your support and kind of cuts off your breathing system rather than helps the natural movement. I've discussed this in another video, but basically when you breathe out, your spine actually wants to lengthen. So as you breathe in, it shortens slightly, and as you breathe out, it lengthens slightly. So you actually want to go with this movement. So you rather want to think forward and up rather than back and down like that, which is kind of our standard go-to breathing out, running out of air, help me method. Now for different instruments this is different, so I'm not going to kind of like categorically say this, but I think it's worth thinking about whether you're breathing through your mouth or through your nose. Generally what I've seen in flute playing, you want to breathe through your mouth. Now this is not so serious if you're taking in a slow long breath, but if you breathe in very quickly, if you sort of sniff in a breath, you'll feel how the back of your throat actually closes off in that moment. Whereas when you do it through your mouth, you will feel how it actually rather opens. I think another common problem is we tend to see our breathing as like either, you know, like a two-dimensional kind of thing, or even worse, we don't even think about it at all. Our lungs kind of sit here like this, and everything else is just kind of like this flat plane where we breathe into and then it breathe out. But actually, we've got to really start thinking about our breathing as this three-dimensional thing, so that it's going all the way into our backs, all the way into our lower backs. Sometimes, and I, tend to get a little bit like, I don't know, esoteric with some of my students, and I say, when I breathe in, I really breathe all the way down to my feet. Which sounds crazy, but it's just because I'm so free going all the way down my body that I can almost feel it in my feet. And definitely I'm feeling it sort of in my pelvic floor right down. So I'm feeling the breath kind of fill up my entire torso rather than just kind of like up here somewhere, a little bit like, breathe in, breathe in. All right, everybody, that was just a quick what not to do when it comes to breathing and support, I guess. If you have any other kind of common things that you do, maybe you've got some, little unusual habits or niggly bits, or perhaps some very usual habits that I've forgotten, I would recommend commenting, writing those below nicely. I have done some other videos on breathing, and I'm hoping to do some really nice new ones looking at, recently kind of discovered and stumbled upon some really interesting breathing exercises that really help me and my students actually really understand this process of breathing. So this is why I love teaching, because students teach you, or you learn things as you go, and you're like, oh, that's a cool new exercise, and oh, that's interesting, I never thought about that. So for all you teachers out there, a little shout out. Teaching is one of the coolest things I think anybody can do in this world. Yeah, happy practicing, everybody, and see you next time.